Nayib Bukele, the leader of El Salvador, does not hold any punches when it comes to the globalists and George Soros. Watch as he goes on an absolute rampage in this epic speech. You guys gotta check this out.
Soros to dictate public policy and laws. Why does he feel entitled to impose his agenda? The global elites, they hate our success, and they fear yours. Institutions were created to serve the people, and not the other way around. Well, so if the government can print unlimited amounts of money, why do they collect taxes? You pay high taxes only to uphold the illusion that you are funding the government, which you are not. The government is funded by money printing, paper backed with paper. Confidence in your currency would be lost. The dollar will fall, and the Western civilization with it. We transform El Salvador from the most dangerous country in the world to the safest in the Western Hemisphere. The corrupt system work in tandem with the so-called international community, the NGOs, and of course the fake news, just like it happens here in the United States. Unelected bureaucrats are trying to instate public policy. Who elected them? They don't have a democratic mandate. If they want a seat in the table, they should run for office. Let the people vote. It will not be a pretty sight for them if the elections are free and fair. I mean, who elected Soros to dictate public policy and laws? Why does he feel entitled to impose his agenda? Let me tell you something. Soros and his cronies hit a brick wall in El Salvador. Thank God, and all the glory be to him, Salvadorans are now immune to his influence. No one believes his lies anymore over there. We just had free and fair elections. And we won in a landslide with more than 84% of the vote. Let that sink in. More than 84% of the people voted to continue our policies. Our victory is unprecedented in the history and modern democracies in the world. They also gave us a supermajority in Congress, more than that. 54 seats out of 60. "57 if we count our allies. That's 95% of Congress. Let that also sink in. The people of El Salvador have woken up, and so can you. The global elites, they hate our success, and they fear yours. The people's free will to choose their leaders is something they despise because they cannot control that. You have experienced this firsthand here in the United States. The global elites control the mainstream media, they finance campaigns, district attorneys, to mention a few. They abuse their powers. They persecute political opponents. In El Salvador, we don't weaponize our judicial system to persecute our political opponents. A practice that may sound familiar to you, but we don't do that there. And who's the dictator? The global elites in the media, they work in conjunction. They run some stories and publish them, same pictures to reinforce their agendas. You're no strangers to that here in the United States. We deal with that in El Salvador too. That is the free press that they talk about? Please. I always criticize the defenders of institutionalism. Not because I don't think strong institutions are paramount and necessary for a democracy, but because I find them very hypocritical.
I'll tell you what right now, Bukele is putting the globalists in his sights. He is not afraid to call them out on all their hypocrisy. And I love when he says, if they were in a free and fair election, nobody would vote for them. I don't even think they would get 1% of votes. It goes to show how unpopular that they truly are, that the only way that they can succeed in getting their narratives and their agendas pushed is if they try and do it like a sleuth. They do it behind the scenes. They don't want you to know what's actually going on. They'll manipulate the media. They'll manipulate your politicians. They'll do whatever it takes to get you to think like them. But when it comes to somebody who's got strong moral conviction and will not bend, will not yield, somebody like Nayib Bukele here, you're going to fail every single time. And just go back 5, 6, 7 years. El Salvador was the murder capital of the world. They were the laughingstock. Now it is arguably the best country all across the world because this man has a 90+% approval rating. His own people love him. They love how he cleaned up the streets and made them more prosperous than ever before. That's the type of leader that you want. And this is exactly how Trump would be if he wasn't fighting all these forces within his own government, within the media.
Right,
It seems no matter what Donald Trump does, there are going to be people that oppose him vehemently. He can cure cancer and they're still going to hate the dude. That goes to show these people are blinded by hatred and politics, and these are the exact type of people who have no place in our government.
Who see others for themselves as they are trying to impose on others. But there's yet another component that is more dangerous than a simple double standard. Institutions were created to serve the people and not the other way around. For instance, the financial situation of the United States. When I talk to my conservative friends right here, they always tell me that the problem is high taxes. But they're wrong. Of course, high taxes are extremely high here in the United States. I give you that. You're right in that. But that's not the real problem. The real problem is not the high taxes themselves, but the fact that they are not even really funding the government. But even those high taxes, higher than a lot of places in the world, but even those taxes are really funding the government. So who's financing the government? Government is financed by treasury bonds, paper. And who buys the treasury bonds? Mostly the Fed. And how does the Fed buy them? By printing money. But what backing does the Fed have for that money being printed? The treasury bonds themselves. So basically, you finance the government by printing money out of thin air. Someone could ask, well, so if the government can print the limited amounts of money out of thin air, why do they collect taxes?
Right.
I mean, in theory, it would make sense, right? If they can print unlimited amounts of money, why would they need taxes for?
Right.
The answer is simple, but it's very shocking. The real problem is that you pay high taxes only to uphold the illusion that you are funding the government, which you are not.
Facts.
It's shocking, but it's true. The government is funded by money printing, paper backed with paper, a bubble that will inevitably burst. The situation is even worse than it seems, because if most Americans and the rest of the world were to become aware of this farce, confidence in your currency would be lost, the dollar would fall, and the Western civilization with it. if the next president of the United States doesn't make the necessary policies and structural changes, sooner or later that bubble will burst. There's still time. You don't have to make the same mistakes we did in the 60s and the 70s. You can still jump before the water boils. Winning the election isn't enough to solve these problems. They will not simply go away as a consequence of an electoral result. It would take a total re-engineering of the government top to bottom. It will entail making difficult decisions, like the ones we made in El Salvador since 2019 and they're already paying off. It will be hard. The system will push back, but you have the right to determine your own fate.
Told y'all. Fucking told y'all, man. Y'all think it's a game out this motherfucker because y'all keep listening to the left. And the left is selling y'all out and the blind lead the blind. Y'all gonna end up in a ditch like y'all already are, like a motherfucker. Here he is here. I've been said that shit. I got videos up on this crony. This sleaze bag. And his son Alex Soros. Which he gave transfer all power to Alex Soros. Because he know he on his way out the door. He about to croak just like the Pope. You heard?